In this last lesson of design and architecture in Rhino, we're gonna continue to use cycles as a render, and we're gonna see some other tools and effects that we can use, we can add to our final render. We're gonna do a little bit of post-production, and it's gonna be something that we already saw. Basically, we saw everything we need to know, so how to take care of problems of the mesh and the 3D solids. We saw how we can set up an exterior lighting, an interior lighting, a studio lighting, so how we can use the various artificial lights and natural lights, and also how we can set up and adjust the materials inside the render. So we know everything we need to know. So I'm just gonna show you some extra tips and tricks, and the rest is available in the Rhino video course, which it's also in the channel. And we also talk about how to save views. This is really important. And I'm sorry, this is gonna be in Italian because I have the Italian interface. But again, these are all tools that we already saw. We are just gonna use them like to make some more examples. So if you saw all the previous lessons, you won't have any problem. Like for example, the view. So naming the view is really important because you can save a set of views and then of various angles of an interior or an exterior or a product, wherever. And then you have also tools here to delete or duplicate, etc., etc. And then you have this button in the render toolbar that lets you render in batch, meaning that instead of rendering just one image, you can render a series of images or a series of views that you stored in the named views. So really powerful tool to export your final render. We saw that everything else is in the render tab or in the render settings. So the quality, the resolution, the HDRI, the lights, and all the way down the samples. So we just increase the samples and everything. And then you have the button in Rhino, the blue ball that will let you run your final render. So I'm gonna open the render window by clicking on the blue ball, and it's taking a while because, well, depends on the complexity of the scene. And then it's gonna open up our, oh, and that's the wrong view, by the way. So that's let's make sure you select the correct view or you set it up before. So let's see up here, there you go. So you can select a view from here, which could be the current view or a specific named view that we named in the previous lesson. And let's run. So let's run the render, and there you go. So now we can see what's happening here. Already it applied the denoiser again, and then we have a lot of effects that we can apply, and we already saw those. So also, if you want, you can render different things that are invisible in the render, like for example the annotation and the text and the curves, the edges, the borders, and whatever. So you just check this on, and on the render you will see this extra, there you go. So perhaps you want to do something more technical and you want to display like curves and things like that. You can just activate them from the post-processing effects panel here in the render panel, which, by the way, if you don't see, it's probably closed, so you need to open it up with the magic wand tool here in the toolbars. So there you go. So this is in Italian again, but the icons are the same and position of the elements are the same. So you have RGB colors, alpha channel, and this is the little magic wand button to open or close the effects. So if you want to work in Rhino, you can also press pause or stop the render. If you want to work with other tools, you need to finish the render, either finish the render or stop the render. And here you find like some mapping for the tones, so the highlights, the dark points, the white points, the highlights, etc., etc. So again, I personally do this in Photoshop or in other open source software like GIMP or Canva or Pixlr. There are so many out there. Photopea, it's also open source, and you'll find all these courses in the channel. So usually I proceed with post-production outside the rendering software. I don't do it within the rendering software. whether I'm using Rhino or Blender or 3ds Max. I like to take care of that outside because it's gonna be, you know, faster, better, and also I have more tools. And so that's, you know, just suggestions. And down here you can add more effects. So we saw that we have glow effects, we have blooming effects, we have depth of field effect, and we have fog effect and multiplier, which is kind of a exposure adjustment again, so something that works with the highlights and the darkness of the scene. So you can add all the post production effects here that you want, and you can use them once they are on. Once you check them on, you can always turn them off. And once you finish, you can save your render in a JPEG if you don't need transparent background. Otherwise, PNG if you want transparent background, as we saw before. So we already done that before. And fog is now the fog is kind of too much here. So let's decrease the intensity. You can change the color. You can change also the distance of the fog, so where it starts and where it ends. So if you put like a really far ending point, that will become less intense. Now, I don't know why why you want to use the fog actually, but maybe it's because you want to see, well, sometimes it creates more visible lights like volumetric lights, but in Cycles Render for Rhino, we don't have that like really strong fog effect like we have like in Redshift or V-Ray, or you know, other more advanced um, render engines out there like Octane, or also you have Corona. So again, I'm just giving you suggestions on how you can proceed your work once this course is finished, and which other courses you can see. And you know, these are some suggestions. So we can still do, again, little. So we can adjust here, for example, the bloom. So we can have a little bit of halo in around the lights, and then we have like glare effects, things like that. We already saw partially those. And what else? Well, depth of field also really interesting, and this is also available in any, you know, um, software. So depth of field or DOF or color depth map, it's called different ways. You can just pick the focus point. You can see this character here is the focus point, and then depends on how much blurriness you put. So it's basically something that you put in focus and everything else gets out of focus. That's it. That's the depth of field. So you just need to define the distance, and also we can set it up in another tab that I will show you. And then multipliers, you can see, can adjust the line as the exposure. Now in the tab concerning the camera, you also have the framing, so you can put some safe frames. You can see here you need to select the view again, which you're working with, and then you have also here the depth of field. So putting in focus, out of focus, the f-stop number, the focal distance, the number of samples you want to push, if you want more quality or less quality in the depth of field. And there you go. So if you increase it, like if you put the focus point really close, everything else is going to be blurred. And so just play around here, you will see that is pretty easy to understand. It's basically setting up a distance. So if you don't know the distance, you can just pick a point with the selector, and that's it. There you go. So this is like really high blurriness due to really high f number or f stop in like you have in real cameras. And then you have the little star icon, which is for the effects again. So you can also work the effects from here, and you will show the effects in the preview window there. So just continue here in the properties. Also, you can have more technical views, as we saw. So if you expand here the view settings, you have things like monochrome or more artistic, more technical image, ray